We're coming back from our break. The time is now 4:06, and we are at next steps in our process. And Ms. McClung, if you will.
Thank you, Mrs. Jordan. So we were looking during the break, thinking of what are the options at this point for next steps. So we have decided, or we'll ask for a formal consensus, but do believe that there was consensus around you would like to look at the evaluation instrument as a next step that has to do with the evaluation instrument itself, but not next steps to do with the board attorney. Do you have a question, Ms. Gittens?
I would just like to put forward that that we get together and to do an improvement plan and give the 60 days to do it.
Okay.
I'd like
Thank you. There were actually three options, and I would like to go ahead and give those three, and then we'll come right back to that.
Yes, hold that thought.
Thank you.
Okay.
So basically, at this point, there are three options. The first option would be to allow the contract to automatically extend for 2 years with no further action. The second option would be to allow the contract to extend for 2 years with an improvement plan in place. And then the third option would be to not renew the current contract, to develop a new contract based upon whatever the board and the board attorney agreed to, with possibly an improvement plan in place. So based on those three options, then I heard Ms. Gittens make the suggestion, which sounds like option 2.
Well, what I was not saying redo the whole contract, though.
Right, so option 2 would be
improvement plan, because I think one of the options was the 60 days improvement, right?
in the current contract. The 60-day notice was to be given if during that contract time the board was unhappy and wanted to see an improvement. However, this, and I'll defer to the board attorney for my interpretation. My interpretation is right now the contract ends on April 26th, which is less than 60 days. So if the board were to put a 60-day plan in place at this point, they would either need to let the contract automatically renew for the 2 years, or would need to base a contract renewal upon a 60-day plan.
Okay, so hearing what Ms. McClung just said, Ms. Morgan, can you?
Yes.
Okay,
So I have some comments I'd like to make. First of all, just in terms of the whole process, I see two significant problems. One is the big difference between the board attorney and her self-evaluation and the board's evaluation of the board attorney. So that suggests that there is a gap that needs to be closed. The second difference is the difference between board members within the evaluation, as Ms. Patrica mentioned. So I think with respect to the difference in board member opinion about it, we do need to revise the instrument, but we also need to set a date. We're going to have a new board in November. I would like to set a goal of November 1st, 22 for a new instrument. Obviously, there will have to be several workshops, but that's my first suggestion. My second suggestion with respect to the difference between the attorney's self-evaluation and the board evaluation is that we do something along the lines of what Ms. Gittens said. I think we need to pick 3 goals with timelines. One goal should be policy, Neola policy completion. Another goal should be budget and report development by the legal department, including KPIs. And then a third would be a explanation of workflow with respect to internal legal counsel and external legal counsel. And I think that, again, we should set dates for reviewing those things. And then my final comment would be, given these differences and given the work that lies ahead, I think we should only renew the contract for 1 year. I don't think we can accomplish timelines in 60 days, regardless of when the contract ends, rolls. I don't think that's realistic, but I think if the board sets out goals for the next 6 months, and then has a new instrument and evaluates the board attorney, so the board attorney has ample opportunity to understand what the new expectations are, that we evaluate the board attorney again in 1 year instead of 2 years. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And and just to say, I know that Ms. McClung has to leave here in 4 minutes. So I was going to suggest that we bring, everybody really think about this and the next steps and bring it back to April the 11th for our next workshop, which is a week away. Is that right?
It's 2 weeks, April 11th.
To do with the
Well,
contract.
the contract,
Would still be
a
okay.
decision needs to be made by April 15th, so that would give you the meeting on the 12th. You would need to make a decision on the 11th for a meeting on the 12th. And we did look at the briefing. We would definitely be able to move the prioritization of topics. We could probably move bonfire demonstration as well to provide additional time if needed for that discussion.
Can I just say, and maybe we can agree on this?
Yes.
I agree with Ms. Morgan, the configuration of what she said and what I said, to have the 3 goals with a improvement plan in 6 months with the 1-year contract. And the only thing is the last one she mentioned about legal and inside and outside counsel. I think that would give time for us to review the new legal setup and system with the attorneys that are in place as well. So that would be a major, major part of it. So, I mean, I agree with the 3 goals, the 6 months and the 1-year contract.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn?
Yeah, I agree with what, whatever your name is.
Whatever.
Gittens?
Had a moment.
Say her, it's all right.
With what Ms. Gittens said about the legal department. I think that's really important because I think this past year or so, to me anyway, my perception is that Attorney Dupree Bruno has had to make a whole new start since our prior staff attorney, Brian Williams, left, because the last time we did a deep dive into this, it became very apparent to me that there was a definite, well, he's gone, so I can say what I want, that Attorney Williams was doing what he could to sink the success of Mrs. Dupree Bruno. And I think we have to look at that. I would go for the 1 year. I would also say that although the overall came up to needs improvement, it's like, what was it, 2/100ths of a point? I mean, it was very close. It wasn't like down in the cellar, needs improvement. And any one of those questions on there could have, when somebody says, when it said works with administrators, and well, I don't know if it, and just give it a 3 or give it a 2 or something like that. So I really think that we need the better instrument, and that we need to be looking at this with an eye toward this whole new department and learning more about the department, because I think that's going to be the strength or failures of the legal department, I think will really, really give us the story on how well all of this is going. So
Thank you.
if that all makes sense.
Ms. Giovanelli?
So I would agree exactly with everything all that my colleagues said, because I think we do have to see the legal department how that works. I'm very curious how the whistleblower hotline rolls out when it's really functioning for the purpose of what it was intended for. I feel that sometimes it was easier for some people to put threes down when in fact there probably was, and then you wouldn't have to make a comment, and you know, I was probably very critical, but I'm such a black and white, there's no in between for me. So when there was an issue, became an issue, and I can't get off the issue. And so I tend to be more probably negative than positive, but I still brought up what I thought was positive, because there's some good things that has happened. I think that Ms. Vaughn brings up a great point with the prior staff attorney and sabotaging Ms. Bruno, but that was something I brought up a while back, and I just really want to be clear that Ms. Bruno speaks up for herself and defends herself, because I think that I know that she worries about her employer, and but she's an employee, and I do care what's happening to her, and we as a board need to care what is happening and how things are functioning for her. And if she's not able to do her job, we need to know about it. So I want to just really reiterate that and be real clear, because we can't help somebody do their job if we don't know what's stopping them from doing it. Thank you.
Fisher?
Yes, so I would say that the last 2 years have been difficult, disruptive, and very unusual. Way more unusual than anything I experienced in the previous 10 years on the board. So I agree with setting goals and, renewing the contract and doing an evaluation again in a year based on possibly a new instrument that's more consistent with the contract. So I appreciate the comments of my colleagues, and I look forward to the comments of our board attorney. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair. I was just sending an email with kind of encapsulating what we had, and just so everybody can look at it with the 3 goals, the 6 months, the 1-year contract, and November 1st, 22, a new instrument. So I don't know if we need to do a consensus or anything on that.
Well, I think Ms. McClung is,
Well, my suggestion would be to give everyone time to think about the goals, and since not all board members are present today, that if you could take that email, look at the proposed goals, and then come back to the workshop on the 11th to come to a consensus to refine those goals, make sure it's very clear. That will also give Attorney Dupree Bruno time to talk about what a 1-year contract would look like, because I don't know the details of what would need to be involved to change that contract. So I don't think that's something that we could get done today, even if I had till 10 o'clock tonight. So I believe if we can come back on the 11th with that goal in mind for the workshop, and then the new contract could go forward on the 12th.
Thank you.
Dr. Savage.
Dr. Savage?
Yeah, just because I've been listening to kind of the feedback. One of the things that Ms. Morgan mentioned is that discrepancy and that significant variance between individual board member evaluations and whatnot. And while it is clearly in the board's purview to determine whether or not they would like the board attorney to serve in that capacity, one of the things that in our world, and I think best evidence for this is Dr. Bernier's contract, he wanted a 360-degree evaluation as a part of that. While certainly that does not trap the board into any particular, reliance on saying you would want to retain her services or whatnot, what it does provide is additional information so that you don't have to speculate and guess, I think she supervised administrators, but to what extent? I think there's this particular piece of it. By having something that's a little bit more substantive from other stakeholder groups, that gives you a chance to be able to reflect on that information to determine if that helps paint a picture for you as well. And then it's evidence-based. I think the concern that I would have for, anyone being in this position is when there is such wide variance and this is your professional career and your evaluation becomes a part of your career forever, potentially, and just, just to ensure that it is as thorough and well-rounded from all sides, I think is, from a professionalism standpoint, if the real goal is to be accurate and to allow the employee a chance to very clearly have substantive opportunities that they can seek to improve or not, then that's just something that I know Dr. Bernier put in. I thought it was an excellent thing to have in his contract, and just information. So I just wanted, while you were deliberating and thinking, I figured I'd mention and highlight that consistency among your employees as well.
Thank you. Mr. Preborn, I know you had a comment?
Yes, I actually have a statement that I'd like to read. With all due respect, please note my disagreement with this evaluation and note my continued objection to some portions of this evaluation tool. I'm requesting an evaluation tool that buffers as much as possible from politics and personal agendas. A tool that eliminates the temptation to offer an evaluation that is based on assumptions, rumors, perceptions not based in reality, and innuendos, or based on matters beyond my control or of which I was not involved or had limited involvement. Moreover, some board members did not understand some of the questions or indicated that they had no knowledge but were required to score subjectively, thereby affecting the overall score. I provided a 4-page memorandum reflective of my legal work. In that light, I will let my hard work and dedication speak for itself. Now that I have a team, as legal has recently been fully staffed, my team and I are committed to representing this board and district in a more proactive manner. We will apply loss mitigation, make recommendations that consider the full legal exposure and long-term goals rather than be short-sighted and reactive, advise as to the law in a prudent manner, and provide overall good counsel. Ethics and integrity are the cornerstones and have always been the cornerstone of my professional career and of my office. Although Lee County is one of the top 10 districts in the state of Florida, this district continues to experience growing pains as it transforms from a small-town school district to a more competitive district reflective of its high-performing sister districts. Legal services is just one part of that transformation. We recognize that change is sometimes difficult. The legal team, made up of competent and dedicated individuals, welcomes the challenge and is committed to implementing new policies and providing judicious legal insight to help this board and district achieve its goals, of which student achievement is paramount. Although challenging and frustrating at times, I have been humbled and honored to serve as your school board attorney and the general counsel for the Lee County School District. I am certain that legal will do their part to ensure each student achieves his or her highest personal potential as you strive towards your vision to be a world-class school system. Remember that it takes the meeting of the minds to form a contract. So I have a voice and certainly have some things to think about as the school board attorney. School board attorneys do not generally have one-year contracts. So I will think and marinate on this proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Dupree Bruno.
Thank you.
So at this time, I would like to gather a consensus to bring this back at the next workshop.
Can I just make one comment, that if we did this with the 6 months and then the 1 year, it's actually a year and a half all total. So,
School board attorneys do not get one-year contracts. You evaluate every year. Most administrators have a 3-year contract. I'm not asking for a 3-year contract. I'll be fine with a 2-year contract, but I will not, I'm going to marinate, talk to my family. I've talked to my staff, but 1 year for somebody at my level is pretty significant.
Kathy, can I ask a question? You just said you spoke to your staff, so you've already spoken to them?
No, I said I will speak to my staff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I thought you said I have spoken to my staff. I was like, thank you.
Thank you.
So can we please take a consensus to bring this conversation back on the 11th
Yes, at the workshop.
at the workshop? Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we will do that.
Thank you, unanimous. Thank you very much for your time and for your discussion, and I will see you on the 11th.
Thank you. And I know Ms. McClung has to go. Is there anyone who has anything for the good of the order? I still have to ask that. No?
As you threaten, right?
As I look at Ms. Gittens.
Put your gun away, it's okay.
Seeing no other comments to come before this board, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.